Today's show, the sun equals S plus un on February 25th, 2026. The word sun comes from the Old English sunne, sun, which is derived from Proto-Germanic suno. This term is related to similar words in other languages, such as the Latin sol and the Greek helios, all tracing back to the Proto-Indo-European root sawel, meaning the sun.
Now, sawwell is spelled S-A-W, like the seesaw or the saw you cut things with, and then E-L, the phonetic pronunciation of the L, or the sprout of man out of the materials of earth or all of creation, because man's an assembly. So with sawing L, we are either tilting it or giving it a bias, or action or movement, or some type of spread or dilution. And this links to the word sun, so we are intimate with the sun. So there's hundreds and hundreds of sayings about the sun, but let's go ahead and look at a couple.
Old people's speech is not to be dishonored. After all, they saw the sun first. There's nothing new under the sun. Every sun has to set. The gem of the sky is the sun. The gem of the house is the child. When the sun sets, lazy people prepare. Even a poor man owns the sun and the stars, his thoughts and his speech and values determined. Being in love is like feeling the sun from both sides. Knowledge is like the sun. It dispels the ignorance and illusions. When the sun is highest, it casts the least shadow.
Well, that is very sweet, and we appreciate that very much. So when we ignore these wonderful parts of ourselves because we're intimately connected to the sun, so when we ignore that, we become like the animal called the monkey, which is a funny word because in French it would be my key, mon key. So it's very interesting that way. And also in some languages, ki is the essence energy or the axis point of the human being. So again, very interesting word. But the animal, the monkey, it just stays focused with its head down on whatever it's interested in, and it only learns from whatever it can mimic. It never has new knowledge other than what it repeats from what it's seen. So this is like the shared mind that humans have, which is actually a spread, if you want to look at it that way, of all of creation from the very beginning. And we all can tap into this shared mind because it exists right in the energetic air that we breathe together. So this monkey mind has plenty of destination offers, but it never drops you off anywhere. So the mind is more of a reference than a reverence. The reverence is the still point. You are the axis between the earth and the heavens. So let's look at the monkey mind and see what we come up with.
The mind is shared by all, and it is a mine of all of creation that has preceded. The mind is like a monkey and only knows what it has seen before. Funny is a code. F plus un plus nay. YS, that's yes. Apple I equals apply, or plus ply.
Now the brain is where all these things happen, and they say we're not using our brains, so I say, why not? And that question raises the statement, why are we making knots out of everything? So our brain looks like a knot, yet it still works perfectly if we apply our will to it. So that's why in the word brain, it spells be rained on. But it also says be reign of self. So the brain is a creative servant to you, and it will create any reality, whether you want to be bossed around or whether you want to be the boss of yourself.
Gender is the format of the universe. Gen plus der. Gender confusion leads all other confusions. The solution is under your nose.
So the dysphoria of gender or gayness, homosexuality is forced onto the population by various tactics, only to make them weak under the influence of gender confusion. And this makes the person who embraces that submissive and dependent, and then they can be exploited. But our actual true station as the axis makes us the source of realities. The demons we play with have intent to steal our design and dispose of us. Of course, monkeys can't do that, but play they will.
Philosophy and religions are an age-old psyop by the MIC AI and monkey systems in place, directed by the chief, Satan, or also known as in out. It is designed to train us into sophistry and idolization. Philosophistry only chases away the obvious. Philology solves any quandary.
Yeah, the first ology or study, if you go back in time looking at the words, was philology, and there were no sociology or psychology or any other ologies. It was only the study of words and speech and how it morphs or transforms itself through civilizations and times and stories. So philology is the root or the map to all history and everything that was, which answers every question about where we are. And the only way to plot a course anywhere is by finding the starting point. So who are the characters? We're obviously all of us breathers of air. The air that we share are the characters. So let's look at the word character.
We have char or char plus actor. It is relevant. The ka, the kh or the cha plus ar plus actor. The kh equals game plan, the source, the feminine. The ar is the child, and the actor is the executor, the collector, the masculine. Every human is a character. Here are the symbols in common, asterisk, and charged, and a reason, and the asterisk is the neutral multiplier in the center. The observer is the axis, the brain is the executor.
And in the middle is the will, which is your forgotten newborn child self that will always live with you forever and is waiting to be called on. So if we pay attention to externals, we'll run into media stars. And if we look inward, we'll run into our true star. So the media stars is MS, it's in reverse. Instead of sun, moon, it's mental first and sun second. So the media stars, if we focus on them enough, it will bias us toward what they're suggesting. And we could literally forget about our reason for existence.
People fail to realize that anyone who is in the mainstream, regardless of how outwardly good they might appear, isn't on our side. Threats to the system are not allowed into the system, and if someone genuinely threatened the system, we would never hear their name. To pray is to make oneself prey to predators. Worship equals worship. Faith is like fiat by decree of some guy. Religions is plain to see the meaning. The brain is an interface of the human axis between the density of material and the perishing and the ethereal nature of our source that is eternal.
Well, science, the word actually ends with ents, which relates to the early humans of Antia and Entia in Latin times, who were quite aware, or more aware, we shall say, of their origin and inceptions and their reason for existence. So science as a word ends with this very important suffix ents. But then it's SCI in the beginning. So the SC is representing the SK sound or the schism. So the actual meaning of science in its most earliest meaning is the recognition of the bursting from the axis of the Antia and Entia life forms. So yeah, they're kind of into that. But the best science is observation, because dead books always get rewritten and then they lie. The mediator rules reality, the person who owns the axis. Its non-tangible is thoughts, emotions, memories, intuition, imagination, telepathy, empathy, the ethereal. So the observation shows us that we're a mix of a dense form and an ethereal form.
Letter is meaning loosen the child. Our gender universe is casually observable and provable as common, neutral, and charged. And the reason.
I often hear people tell me how bored they are, but in my mind I'm thinking, bored is not possible where there is breath. You've been taken and you missed your cue, the CUE, the point. But it's easy to fix if the user turns their head away from the waiting area, the QUE or the record itself, and back into the spindle, the source of your life, the CUE, the point, the cue. You see, that cue might look like it's a problem, but actually offers the solution.
A day is a die in Latin, and that's 1440 minutes in a day, which is 144. A day is rise, peak, fall, return.
It's the SL.
The SL. Avenue.
Well, you're a slave to a day because every day is a saga of life and death. So when the sun comes up, that's what this show is about. You rise, you hit your peak, and then you fall, just like the sun. And then there's a return period when you sleep. So it's an epic, a saga, a day of life and a night of death.
Casually observable, want the escape of Hotel California, and that's acronym HC, which equals human condition. Hose your daddy to dissolve the matrix, 100% guaranteed.
Can you name the 5 brain waves? Well, believe it or not, in English, they're A, B, C, D, and then T. So the A, B, C, D recognized brings you to the T. So you'll be matched to a T or perfected to a T, so to speak. So the names of these waves are alpha, beta, gamma, which is the 3rd letter in Greek, then delta, which is the 4th letter in Greek, then the reason. The reason is the theta waves. And that's where creativity happens in our brain, in the theta waves. So that represents the reason. And the reason is the T, the foundation of the word, and Tau, or T-A-U in Greek, the letter T, or Tau in the East for natural order, also recognized as D for Danny or Delta, Tao. Both of those words end in AO for the Alpha Omega, and the Greek spelling is TAU for T plus the non-decayable, or the authentic.
Theta versus thetan. Thetan adds an N, or phonetically EN, N, to the word for the symbol theta. In Scientology, the Thetan beliefs, the concept of the Thetan is the spiritual being or self that constitutes the true identity of a person and is distinct from the body and mind it inhabits and controls. Scientology teaches that a Thetan is immortal, has lived through many past lives, does not cease to exist at body death, and is typically reincarnated into a new body.
Well, that's a really nice story from L. Run, and his last name, I guess, would be Gobbler. So the L. Run Gobbler had a very unique experience and vision. He shared that with others, and then they started a little group, and it's called Scientology. So they use a lot of beliefs that have been known about for thousands of years, and they kind of collated in their own way, and they even have their own messiah and inventor of humans. So it's an interesting study. But they did adopt the theta brainwave and the theta symbol in Greek, and they added an N to it. So the N is the central letter of our alphabet. In the modern alphabet, N is 13th from either A or Z when you simply remove the definability of J.